Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Half and Half podcast. Today we're on to Vengers episode 5. How's everyone doing today? Hope you had a splendid week. It's me, Clay, and here's Nicolas. Say something silly, Nicolas.
Hello.
No sniffles. Iconic. Today we are reading Vengers episode 5. This one does not have a name. I'll make something up funny for the title of the video in relation to whatever happens in this comic. So here we are. Half and Half Comics present Avengers number 5. We start with a UFO heading flying down to the planet Earth. The United States of America is conveniently labeled there. They have probably created like a giant USA sign that's plastered across Northern America. So if you're looking down from space, you can see where that country is. But the UFO is hurling towards Earth, and we see a cow just vibing, and then a giant explosion happens behind him as the UFO has crashed into the ground.
And then the cow stands up on his hind legs, and he's kind of confused. He's like, it didn't go how I planned. And the ship has got smoke coming out of it now, and an alien arm reaches out of it, and he climbs out, and he's like, no! He's looking at his ship as it's destroyed. It's been totaled. It quickly cuts to, must have been a jump in time a little bit, because we see a giant metal slingshot that apparently the cow is built, and it's about to launch the little UFO back into space. And so the alien's like, well, thanks to the cow, who's got a construction belt on and construction hat, and he's just like, yep.
How convenient.
Mm-hmm.
What a nice cow. He fixed his ship and made him a new device to relaunch.
Yeah, really knew what he was doing.
Truly a neighbor moment. So the UFO gets whished into the sky by the giant metal slingshot, and we cut to out in outer space. The UFO is sent flying, hurtling into the moon. All the cow's hard work was in vain because the UFO immediately crashes into the moon with a giant explosion mark again, assuming that it broke the ship again. But the spaceship has accidentally split a building on the moon in half, and this is the moon prison. What is a moon without a moon prison? And unfortunately, there was an evil guy trapped in the moon prison. And we know this because he is appropriately labeled evil guy. And the former alien's like, uh-oh. And I'm pretty sure that's the last we see of that alien. So he just let a wanted criminal escape and then dipped. Unfortunate. Meanwhile, at the sacred lair, somebody is shouting, "Oh no!"
And we see the group is looking at a big sign, and it says that there has been a moon escape. And so we see one of the three-headed guys, his hand, he slams a button, and secret lair, it starts to shake, and it starts to transform into a spaceship. Then it says, ready for liftoff, and it launches off, making its way straight for the moon.
And we cut inside the building, and we see Infinity Man looking pretty cocky at the wheel. Like, he's an established flyer, even though we have no prior evidence to back this up from the comics. And Grogal is a little skeptical, and she says, "Do you know how to drive this?" And Infinity Man looks at her, like, smug, and he's like, "Of course! They never called me Mr. Smooth Drives for nothing." And then he crashes the ship into the moon. And this must be a huge ship, because it is about it's like just slightly bigger than the moon itself.
I don't even think it could land on the moon.
It couldn't land on the moon. Infinity Man is embarrassed by this act that he's done, and he says, "Ops."
He knows he's can't even say it right. So the evil guy from the beginning of the comic, he's standing close by to where the front of the spaceship is stabbed into the moon, and he sees all of the Vengers come running out of the ship. Grogal is giant now, a three-headed guy. They've got their force field. Bearman's there. Infinity Man. Well, the evil guy, he's quick to act. He clicks a button, and a giant moon monster comes up out of the ground. It's like this big, kind of looks like the Iron Giant, but he's got moon craters on him. So I picture him being made out of whatever sort of
Moon.
stone. Yeah, moon.
He's made
Made
out
of
of
moon.
moon. He's made out of cheese.
Yeah. And so then he walks right up to the spaceship, and what does he do next?
Well, the moon giant rips the spaceship out of the ground, which, I mean, so we've established that the ship is pretty much bigger than the moon, and this moon monster is the same size of the spaceship. So the to scale size isn't really making a lick of sense here.
Uh-uh.
I don't know how either of them are standing on top of the moon, but he picks up the ship and he chucks it back at Earth. We cut to two wacky side characters here, and one of them is accusing the other of eating his chocolate. He goes, "You ate my chocolate." And the other guy goes, "No." And then Mr. Stupid Idiot pops in and says he lied, because you can obviously see that the denier has chocolate all over his face. Well, what is the appropriate punishment for lying and stealing? Being crushed by a 300-ton spaceship. Swift justice.
Was there a background story to these two characters, or was this just random?
I think it was meant to be a haha funny joke.
Death. Okay, well, we cut back to the moon now, and it was actually a good attack from the moon monster throwing the ship, because now he is stranded the Vengers there on the moon. But the three-headed guy, they project their force field and they tell the others to hop in, and they just launch themselves from the moon, heading for Earth, all protected in this force field. They yell, "Hang on," and everyone's screaming now as they're picking up a lot of speed heading back to Earth.
And so we see the force field coming down, and we see a lowly squid museum. What will happen to the squid museum? Will it be destroyed by this force field? Nope, because the force field misses and slams right into the evil butter layer, destroying it as God intended. There were no survivors. The evil guy is now floating in the sky. Apparently that's one of his abilities, and he demands that the citizens of Earth give him all their stuff. Very specific. He wants everything.
All your
All,
stuff.
all of it. Give it to me now. And then, this is surprising, a whole page in and we finally have our first Batman transition.
Yeah, it says 090.
Yeah, it says 090, and I actually know the story behind this 090.
Oh, okay.
It was from Minecraft Pocket Edition, because Minecraft Pocket Edition was the only version of Minecraft I had at the time, and if you remember old Minecraft, it was very bare bones. There was no infinite worlds. You were stuck to a little small world. You only had like pigs and sheep and cows. Very limited. And the 0.90 update was going to be the update that changed everything, and it would add infinite worlds, and it added Enderman, and it added villages, and all this cool stuff that the computer and stuff had. And by God, I was so hyped for it, so I expressed that by immortalizing it in this comic right here, 0.9.0.
Cool. Was this when you heard about
No, I
that it
knew
was?
about it for a while. I just wanted to tell everybody how cool it was.
Do you remember if it had came out by then, or?
Nope, it came out yet, but I was so hyped, so I thought, might as well, you know.
Well, I'm seeing that update was released on July 10th, 2014, so we would have been out of school by then. We were probably still in school working on this. So anyways, that's about the time that this comic came out, so.
Yeah, we've explained more of this just on this one cutaway than the whole entire comic.
Well, stuff like that's kind of cool, because we're able to track when we were making this, so I had been wondering what that meant, so that's cool. So anyways, it cuts over to people now freaking out. They're running around screaming, and we have the three-headed guy in costume again, but they're not spying this time. They're just in a cowboy outfit because they've got a lasso. And while the alien villain's laughing at everybody running around, they lasso him and put him in the giant slingshot that was built earlier, and they're just about to launch him, and he's yelling no, and then they let go.
And he gets flung all the way to Mars, and that's the last we see of him. That's a little anticlimactic, don't you think? We have another transition, and this one's a duck. I don't have a long backstory about this duck. It's just a duck. This duck was released on Minecraft Pocket Edition 0.9.0 day. What a time to be alive. Anyways, we're now back to the B plot, which has been John and Carol's dating escapades. And they're introduced to this man, this mysterious man who says, "Hello, John." And Carol asked, "Who's this?" And John looks at him with disdain, going, "He's my brother." And do we actually say his name? No, we don't actually say his name in this comic. His name is Buck. That's John's brother, Buck. And Buck's kind of a slob, and he goes, "I need a place to crash." That's how he talks, by the way. "I need a place to crash." And I'd also like to point out that this is John's first appearance in the whole comic. He was not present for the moon adventure at all.
That's true. I was looking at the group and I did not see him there. And I was wondering, I thought maybe I just forgot to draw him, but no.
Busy day at work, I guess.
Someone had to hold down the fort while the rest of them went to the moon.
What fort? They took the base with them.
He had to hold down the property, I guess. Keep an eye on Johnsville.
Make sure no one builds a building in that spot while they're gone.
Yeah.
He's got like some caution tape, like don't enter.
Real quick, I was looking in the front of the binder, and around the same time that we made these, I'd say about a year into making the comics, I know I was in 8th grade when I did this, I made John's family tree. And it's actually pretty cringy when you look at it.
As is everything we're covering at this time.
Well, there's especially this one part where there's like a mad scientist, and he has a cat attached to his head, and he has like half cat, half human kids. It's weird. I don't know why I did that. But he's a very, very
Nicolas
distant...
is always adding like just a little weird to
It's a little...
First it's casual drag, now it's bestiality. What's going on here, Nicolas?
They just like to dress up. It's not drag. I don't know.
Half the time it's a woman.
I know here I wanted to just draw cats from The Simpsons. I know that was a lot of my thing, was wanting to draw something and just forcing it into the story. And so that's what happened there. But anyways, John has 2 brothers. There's 3 of them together. Matt Buck. He has another brother that looks pretty similar to him, but he has glasses. And he has a wife, and they have 3 kids.
We actually meet those characters later on in season 2 or season 3. We get season 2. There's a family reunion episode.
Yeah, and do we see his parents there too?
I'm not sure.
So another thing that I've added here is John is a very distant relative to the villain who will later appear in the comics, who is the jeweler.
Oh, really?
It's like way, way, way back. But I counted, and it would be their great, 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 great 7 times grandparents. So it's very, very distant.
So by the characters I'm hearing here in this family tree, I'm guessing this was written around the time of season 2, because you're mentioning characters that don't appear until season 2 in this. So
yeah,
once we get to those episodes in season 2, maybe we could do a little more of a deep dive into this family tree.
Yeah, and I'll share the picture and we can have it up so you can see, but I think that is all the people that we see in comics. They're in this family tree. So back to our comic now, the story. It shows the room that Buck has crashed in, and he's just made the room a pit, and he's just fallen asleep. He's got a bowl of something green. Not sure what that is, but his face is in it. Chips and popper spill all around him, and there's a knock at the door, and it startles him. He wakes up, and it's a teddy bear, he says. It's Bear Man.
Aww, it's a teddy bear. So he gives the teddy bear a big old squeeze, and Bear Man is not happy. He's flapping his arms. He's afraid. And then Buck lets out a big old burp, and you can see the stink lines coming out of his mouth. And Bear Man is just freaking out. He actually opens his mouth. One of the few times we see that happen. And his tongue is sticking out, and he's screaming, and he rushes out of the building. He goes flying past John and Carol. They go flying in the air as he zooms by. He goes flying past another random squid character.
And he jumps into a washing machine and he either turns it on trying to kill himself or it just was ready to turn on. And so he goes through a full wash cycle or dry cycle. He went through the dryer because he comes out all frizzy. He actually looks kind of happy now. And meanwhile, Buck, he's just like standing there now off in a stare, kind of with a grin. I don't know what he's thinking. His eyes have changed to circles.
We actually have a rare appearance of an ear here in
Yeah,
this comic. How wild is that? Breaking new ground.
that was just, I just drew this just to do the ear because it does nothing else. And then he just passes out on the bed and he starts dreaming about himself running in a prairie with the sun and there's a butterfly flying around him.
And in his dream, he has an endless supply of food. There's a big old cake and he gobbles it up, and we cut to a montage of him gobbling up fried chicken and apples and burgers, and he eats so much that he balloons up to a huge size. His legs are too small for him to move and his arms are a little stubby, and due to his exceeding weight, he topples over and falls down, unable to move. And this awakens him from his dream, and he screams, "Help!"
And he's like, "Did I get fatter when I slept?" And he's like, "I'm hungry." We need a story.
Did I get fatter?
I'm hungry.
I'm
And
hungry.
he did get fatter. His stomach is bigger than when he went to sleep. So
This is backed up by science. This can actually happen in real life. You dream about food.
we need a story of what has happened to him to make him this way. Your brother is a superhero. This is you. Do you think he knows that John is a superhero? Probably not.
I doubt it. I don't think him and his brother have a good relationship.
Yeah.
Buck in himself becomes another one of those lost characters. I don't think he makes another appearance after season 1. Maybe one more in season 2, but he becomes an obscure character later on.
Yeah. He did get dropped. I do think he appears again, but that's it. So he just goes in and starts to eat some more and goes and lounges back in the chair, back at the lazy boy. And at this point, the room is just full of junk, of wrappers and trash, and it's starting to stink up the room. Well, there's another knock at the door, and on the outside, it's Bob, aka Zap from Vengers.
Holy crap.
And he's like, the door's stuck. Actually, have we established, is this John's apartment?
No, we don't know. He just said he needs a place to crash. So maybe John owns the deed to this house, because at the current moment, John lives in his floating house. So maybe this is just like another house that he rents or something.
Maybe it's the apartment that him and Carol later move into.
Spoilers!
Yeah. So Bob now, he's like, the door is stuck, so he puts his back into it and is trying to shove the door open, and he's like, it's moving.
And then with all his might, he pushes it, and it sends the pile of junk flying in the air and landing right on Buck in his chair and in a big old pile. And Zap just kind of stares at the audience, kind of like, huh? And then that's the end. Cool.
So kind of our usual pattern of starting story and then the second half spirals out.
Spirals out of control. What does Buck crashing at this place have anything to do with an alien invasion? Nothing.
And what does it answer? Nothing.
Nothing.
Whose apartment is it?
Nobody knows.
What were John and Carol doing? What is Bob doing there?
The Vengers characters just have a weird obsession of just visiting each other and barging in without being allowed to.
Yeah, especially to John's place. But they gotta be close, because they're the only ones who understand each other. The only superheroes in town.
Yeah, the troubles of crashing your lair base into the moon. Other
Yes.
people really couldn't understand that.
Was Zap with them on the moon?
Who knows? Maybe he was also holding down the fort as well.
Yeah. So anyways, what would you rate this comic, Clay?
3.
Yeah.
I don't think we're even gonna get 6 until season 2.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorites, but I do like we got to see some of John's family, his brother.
Yeah.
I like that we kind of are expanding a little bit there.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have any really good ones until we get later on into the series. But the earlier ones are just they're the foundation. You have to get through them to understand the context of what's happening.
Yeah, season 1 of anything is roughest.
Yeah, for sure.
So next week we will be going through number 6.
Number 6.
Looks like we'll have some classic van chase scenes, and leave it with
Yeah.
that. I'll leave it at
Cool.
that. Just looking at it, I'm not quite sure what's going on.
We have no idea what's going on until we get into it. We were on some pretty rough stuff back then.
Mm-hmm. I do notice in the next comic, our panels are starting to get smaller. They've slowly gotten smaller, the squares, as we go, which that means
More story.
more story, yeah. I think that's a sign that we're getting better.
Right. But more isn't always better.
Now,
We'll come to find that out.
I have seen a few comics where the pictures are like
So
really
small.
really small. But I mean, that's good. It shows that we actually had a story we wanted to fit in there.
And eventually the transition panels will disappear, so we're not wasting valuable space.
That's true, they do.
Do you want to say any sign-off words, Nicolas?
Thanks for listening, and if you have any questions you'd like answered on the podcast,
Put them in the box.
Yep, put them in the comment below.
Put them in the question box. We'll read them. We'll read them all.
Please give us questions. Please.
Dear God, dear Lord, please. We're begging. We're on our hands and knees. Any human interaction.
If someone is out there listening,
please.
Anything.
We will personally come to your house and hug you if you leave a comment.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.